Okay, good evening. It is Monday, the 23rd of May, 2022. It is 8:30 p.m. UK time, and this is episode 22 of Part of My Journey. This is my talk show where I discuss mental health, DJing, parenting, all sorts of things to do with music and Twitch, live streaming, all sorts of things like that. And if you are watching this back on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. If you're watching it on Twitch, hit that follow button. If you're listening on Mixcloud, again, hit that follow button. All are free, doesn't cost you anything. And today, my very special guest from New Zealand to the UK is Kurnel MC, and here he is.
What up?
Woo! I need to get one of those buttons that sort of does the cheering, but we'll get there eventually.
Let's get that in there.
Yeah. How you doing today? You all right?
I'm really good, thank you, bro. Thanks for having me on.
Good. Well, I mean, like I said, I sort of gave a bit of intro about what the show is, and I always sort of take my guests to the very beginning so that anyone watching is able to know, your background, where you go from there. Evening to Galen Hardy, first in the house already. So let's start from the beginning. So musical influences then. Who were, from a young age, your musical influences? Friends, family, siblings, brothers, sisters? Who was it?
The youngest... when I was the youngest, I think the family was the biggest influence. When I was, 4, I think I started we used to go to church. My parents used to go to church, which is a Baptist church in Nelson. And my dad played bass, my brother played drums, my mum sang and played the tambourine. And
Wow.
So it was kind of only natural that I kind of gravitated towards that. So, and it was Baptist sort of Christianity, if you like. So it was quite sort of charismatic and flamboyant, and it was all the big sort of hands clapping, big praise songs, and gospel style. So, and I think that was kind of my sort of first sort of gauge of music. My first younger influences when I was really, really little. And then at home, obviously, my mum used to listen to like Joan Baez and the Beatles and Tina Turner and that, a very eclectic taste. Dad was more funk and soul and loved Hot Chocolate and the Temptations, and my brother was 8 years older than me, so always sort of I was quite inspired by him, and he was into his rock and Nirvana and the Crows and stuff like that. So music all around me as a youngster. I couldn't help but pick it up.
It's amazing, isn't it? Because I think it's pretty much every guest who comes on, obviously, we're all involved in music in some way, had that. And obviously we'll come to talking about, your kids and my daughter and stuff in due course. But I hope in some sense we are also providing the same sort of musical background to our families. I assume I assume you've got music sort of around the house quite often. I take it.
Yeah. It's never quiet in our house.
Yeah.
I mean, don't have records or anything, but like Alexa is always on. I can be found, DJing, playing around with music. There's a guitar there, wherever it is. Guitar in the corner, and my son's got guitar in his room, and so music is around, and we do encourage it. He's taking rock school as a part of his GCSEs.
Wow, that's cool.
So it's definitely, around them. You'd always like to give them more, but, there's only so much that until my son's like, oh, Dad, do I have to? You're so cringy. Like, no, I try. But, soon enough, they're like, all right, that's enough. You go hang with my friends now.
Yeah. Well, I guess, I mean, I think my daughter's still, you just met her, but she's still a bit younger, so I haven't quite got to that stage. But I'm sure that will come at some point in a few years' time, where she's just like, this is terrible, or, she doesn't want to listen to that. But that's all cool. And so, okay. So that was in New Zealand. That's your sort of background. And you didn't come over to the UK till, I think, 2012. Is that what you said?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, sort of, so, I mean, after, if we follow on from when I was super young, to getting a bit older, and getting into like rap and hip hop, when that sort of came to New Zealand, the early 90s was obviously it was exploding from the US, and that was really when I was like, I love this, I can see myself doing this, and started like rapping and pretending I was Snoop Dogg and Dr. Dre and that when I was younger. I was like 14, 15, must have been the same age as my son is now.
Yeah.
Going out at the weekends and pretending to be Snoop Dogg and rapping, and beginning to freestyle, and then from that, my love of sort of hip hop grew, which is my sort of first and foremost sort of love that I found for myself. Otherwise, before that was all influenced by my parents, but that in itself was this kind of a bit of everything, really, sort of storytelling and musicality and a bit of sort of roughness that we'd never sort of seen in New Zealand before. We're like, wow, this is really awesome.
How did that manifest itself? Because obviously this is pre-internet sort of thing. So was it through something like MTV? Is that how you were getting access to it? Was it played on the radio, the sort of 90s hip hop back then?
It was actually a good friend of mine. I was 11 years old. I remember this plain as day. I was 11 years old. A friend of mine who had just come back from the States. One of his parents lived in the States, so he went out to visit his parents. Came back and he brought back Snoop Dogg, Doggy Style, on CD, and we took it around to my house. I was 11 years old. Put it in the CD player.
Brilliant.
Press play. Straight into the bathtub and then into and hustlers. And Mum comes in. She's like, "What the bloody hell is this? Get that out of the house right now! You don't have a." Guess who's back in the? 11 years old, banging that.
Brilliant. Because it was still still very raw back then, wasn't it? And obviously Dr. Dre sort of about then, but especially for parents, this was probably completely brand new and like, what the hell's going on? What is this music?
They never heard so many swear words in one time.
Exactly.
Especially ones that were Christian in background,
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Well, I guess because that's the other thing, isn't it? Because if your parents were, from a Baptist sort of background, I don't know. I mean, was it banned from your house, or did they just say you don't listen to this stuff, or?
Yeah, no. Hi, Polly, by the way. I saw you in there.
Yeah, hi, Polly, and hi, 3DCB as well.
No, it wasn't banned. I don't think it was just. I think it was kind of right. He's trying to express himself. We need to kind of guide him into this more gently than what he's kind of stumbled across. So I think it was about a week later. My mum came in with the Criztoz album, Totally Crossed Out, on CD. I was like, "Son, we'd appreciate it if you played this."
Yeah.
So I went from Snoop Dogg, Doggy Style to Criztoz, Totally Crossed Out. But still, I found Jump, and there's a couple of other bangers on that anyway. And even so, Criztoz were dope. I don't care how what you say.
It's I mean, Criztoz Jump. I've played that to Zizi, and I think she's played it on one of our streams. I picked it up on a 45 and gave it to her. And
brilliant.
And it was just, they were just, like you say, just expressing themselves, weren't they? wearing the trousers back to front and clothes back to front.
Yeah. I'm still influenced by them now. I do flippity diggity raps and my raps are straight Criztoz.
Oh yeah. It's and hello to Mary Stems as well. Welcome for joining us. So I had to nip and just make sure that the sound was up because we're broadcasting on electromagnetic radio as well. So so many buttons to press. It's like a studio. It's crazy. Yeah. But yeah, okay. So that's cool. So that's your friend. So obviously we'll come back to this in a minute. But you ended up going into MCing and stuff. I mean, did your friend end up in sort of music stuff as well?
No, he didn't. Funnily enough, I think he's still into his studies now. He's like a psychologist these days.
Okay.
He still loves his rap and his hip hop, but he's a listener, and he's always like, I'll get a message once every 6 months, and it'll be a new album. Like he loved like the MF Doom and that kind of bad villain, that kind of side of hip hop, the kind of dark, more introverted kind of hip hop style. And he'll always send me little bits and bobs every now and then, and I'm just like, oh, it's so good. He keeps me in touch with that kind of side of hip hop. Whereas I don't tend to listen to that side myself as much as I should, but he's always keeping it real.
Yeah. We'll come back to what you're listening to sort of now in a minute.
No worries.
Okay, so we've got to about the age of 11. Introduction to Snoop Dogg. Where does it go from there? I mean, when do you start first sort of writing rhymes? When do you start sort of putting sort of raps together?
Well, I think, yeah, a few years on from that, I was about 17, and my older brother at the time was now 8 years older than me, so he's now 25, and he's been drumming in a band called the Poppies, which was
Right.
quite a big New Zealand band. They toured with the Exponents, which was another big, like band from New Zealand back in the day, kind of like Crowded House.
Okay.
That
Yeah.
vibe. And they toured around New Zealand with them, and then he went to he came to the UK, and they tried to sign a deal with Sony, but it fell through because it was them and this other band called Zed, who are quite a big, famous New Zealand band now, and basically Zed
Right.
out sort of played them basically. So he came back to New Zealand, started another band, original rock, and also covers, like a pub band, and they had a studio in town. And I got to the age where my brother thought I was cool enough to come and hang out at the studio. Now I'm past that sort of super young teenager and a bit more.
Yeah. So what age are you by this stage?
I'm 18 at this stage.
And he was 8 years older than you?
Yeah, so he's 20.
Okay. So he's 26, and you're now cool enough to hang out with.
Yeah,
fair enough. Yeah, fair enough.
And he goes, right, do you want to come to the studio and sort of see what we're doing? I'm like, yeah, for sure. So I went along to their studio, had a really nice setup. Very fortunate, mind you, to have a brother who, is in a band with the studio.
Yeah.
All there. And watch them sort of go through some rehearsals. And then they said, I've been working on this kind of a different sound that we've been working on. Do you want to hear it? And so they played me some stuff, and it was sort of keyboards and samples and bass and drums, and it was very much hip hop influenced.
Cool.
And I was like, "Wow, that's really cool." And they're like, "Well, do you want to jump on and just like try a freestyle, and then we'll record it, and then just see how it sounds and mess around with it?" I was like, "Yeah, sure." And so at this stage, I'd been, rapping with my friends and doing a bit of freestyling on the weekends, going out with my mates and skateboarding and all that, and underage drinking. Don't do it. And so I jumped in, started recording, and Ryan, who was the kind of producer, he was like, "Oh, this is really cool. I think we might have something here."
Wow.
And so we've decided to sort of develop this kind of hip hop side, and it turned into my first band that I was the front man on, called Master Pilot.
Okay.
And it was live hip hop and funk, based off of drums, bass, guitar, lead MC, and then all the other parts triggered off of a CD, like a click track, basically. So we had horns, sax, and other like synths and subs, all triggered off of these pads. And then we started a hip hop night in our local town, because we had connections through my brother's band, through bars. And on Wednesday night, we started a single like Wednesday night hip hop night, and we played we built up a set of like 10 or 12 songs. And I think for the first 3 weeks, we basically did 3 sets of the same 10 songs.
Right. Okay.
Just have a break, play some music, do the same again. But by the end of the night, it would just build, and there was like loads of people there. And then slowly there was another hip hop crew in our town called what were they called back then? It was Ziggity. Anyway, there was MCs. There was MC Ziggity, Lazy J, and Frolove, and they were kind of like from this little like pirate radio station called Fresh FM, and they were starting to do more sort of street sort of hip hop, whereas we were more sort of live funk. Anyway, we met at a kind of like a summer festival, and we ended up joining forces. So we ended up becoming Master Pilot Corporation.
Right.
Which
Okay.
Drums, bass, lead guitar. I was the main MC. Ziggity, the DJ, Mr. Boynkin, another DJ,
Right.
Lazy J, MC Styley, Jenai, Frolove. We ended up with like this 10-person crew, and then we just exploded. Wednesday nights just went massive because we had more like material to go on. So it just built and built and built. And then for like 2 years, we just owned Wednesday nights in our hometown, just massive nights every Wednesday at this tiny little bar called The Loft.
And was this like a new thing, obviously doing hip hop, or had there been any hip hop stuff before?
No, not at all. Because this is like, this is 2000, the year 2000, in New Zealand, and hip hop was becoming a big thing in New Zealand. We had Scribe and Shay Fu and David Dallas and the Decepticons, a bunch of New Zealand hip hop was taking off and starting to grow. Savage, who's now quite big in the States and worldwide, and we were kind of at the forefront of like the South Island movement of sort of hip hop, and no one had ever done like live hip hop and funk with a band. It had always been, you know, just DJs playing beats and full band, and then MCs everywhere. And it really took off and became a really big night. And we wrote 3 albums and self-released 3 albums. This is all before the internet. And we toured New Zealand, and we supported, like Scribe and the Decepticons and loads of other sort of big hip hop acts. And it was awesome.
That's amazing. And so 2000, you'd have been what? Still like just into your 20?
Yeah, I would have been. Well, 82, 92. No, I must have been a little bit older than that then. There must be 2002, say. So I'd be about 20 then.
So very early 20s, touring your own country, doing hip hop, which is pretty new to. I mean, wow, that's pretty amazing stuff.
It was awesome. I've still got some stuff on the old laptop. I'm like, sometimes I listen back to it. It's actually really funky. Like some of it, you look back and you're like, oh, that was really bad. But this stuff, I'm like, man, that is like quite timeless. Some of it, so I have to dig it up sometime.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? Because you do stuff when you're younger, and some of it is good. It must have been good. And it's definitely. I mean, I wasn't in the band, but I looked after a sort of hip hop band locally as well. And again, some of the stuff they did was brilliant. But it just didn't work out in a band split up and all the rest of it. But but yeah, even listening back to it now, you're like, wow, that was pretty good at the time. So that's cool. All right, so that's cool. So we're up to about 22, 20, something like that sort of age. How's it progressed after that then? Where'd you go from there?
Well, from there, I dropped out of my Bachelor of Nursing degree.
Right. For music to talk.
Music. Yep. I'm like, right. It's either music, or it's like a career. And I thought I can always go down the career path and pick that up later in life, but I might not necessarily be able to follow music. So I was like, it's always been in the blood that we've kind of chased the music in the family. So I'm like, right, the degree can go over here, and I'm now doing music.
Yeah.
And it was the best decision I ever made. It just created so many memories and so many friendships, and just amazing times with such a multitude of people that I'm still really good friends with today. And that's from fans that have then like come to every gig, but then are now really close friends, and just the touring and the antics and shenanigans and just great times.
Well, it's definitely it's one of the things I've noticed over the years that I keep saying this: 99% of the people you meet through music are pretty cool. And then you do make some of the deepest friendships because it's a passion, isn't it? And if you share a passion, then obviously the friendships can be closer. But I mean, obviously getting a career is one thing, but you do have a lot more fun on the music side of things, definitely.
We all inspire you. Like we wanted to do big things, and it was really strange because we got like massive in our small town, and to break out of that, it took like. It would take quite some effort to go to the next level. So we ended up kind of just being like this massive fish in a small pond, which in a way ended up being like negative in itself, because you end up thinking you could literally walk around town anytime. People are hey, and stuff like that. And as you get older, it became more of a negative influence than a positive one. But in saying that, even after that, during that time, the DJing started to sort of. That's when I basically started to DJ as well. My brother invested in. He had a Vestax straight arms turntables and also a Tascam controller, which was this big old box with CDs in here, and it had these cords that came out to 2 separate pads. And he bought that, and then basically I kind of nicked it. And then was like, you're not seeing that ever again. And then just proceeded to teach myself how to sort of DJ, really. And records wise, a bit of that, but didn't really have a lot of records. My parents had quite a few, but we didn't really have access to them as we got older. I don't know whether they sold them or not, and I know all the records heads out there will be like, no, why'd you do that? But I didn't have a choice. So what I had was, the birth of CDJs,
Yeah.
and had those test cams, and then got the the first Stanton CDJ 100s with the jet and the wah and the and then the jazz
Yeah.
button,
Yeah.
and then just sort of developed the DJing from there. And
And what were you playing? I mean, was it hip hop or was it a mix? What were you playing then?
it was pretty much hip hop, but then there was other influences. Like when my brother came back from the UK, Big Beat was massive.
Yeah. Yeah.
The Prodigy were massive. He was
Yeah.
sending back. He would send back the mixtapes that used to come on Holston Pills beer boxes.
Right.
So,
Okay.
like the late 90s, in London.
I don't remember those on Holston Pills boxes. They used to be mixtapes.
Pills, yeah, they had mixtapes
Okay.
stuck on the outside of the beer boxes. He'd listen to them a few times and then chuck them in the post and send them to us, and it'd be all the latest, sort of club, rave, techno house coming out over here. And I was like, that was my introduction to that,
Wow.
and the Prodigy and stuff like that. I was blown
definitely.
away, when he sent me like the Fat of the Land and stuff like that. And then it was, and loads of different sort of genres of music started coming from Europe and from England, and I was starting to play them out in DJ sets. And people were like, what the hell? I'm like,
Well, I guess, yeah. I mean, because back then, without the internet and all the rest of it, unless you physically had a record or heard it, people wouldn't have heard this stuff, would they? Especially if you're getting it from the UK.
Yeah, and these, rare things, fabric mix CDs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That people were just like, they'd never heard anything like it here in New Zealand.
Yeah.
And they were just quite blown away by that, really. And so was I. I was just going, oh, give me, just feed
Send me
me
more
music that's just blowing everyone's mind and my mind. Yeah, unbelievable.
That's amazing. So then, are you DJing as part of the hip hop crew, or are you then going out and doing DJ gigs?
Yeah, so I'm like the lead singer of the hip hop crew. We already had two DJs, so we didn't really need another one.
Right.
But then, so Wednesday night would say there would be the hip hop night, and then Thursday, Friday, Saturday night, I would either DJ or perform, in another guises around sort of bars and clubs in Nelson or New Zealand. And just sort of building a reputation and a bit of a sort of career path as this, kind of a musician / MC / sort of party host. I was then involved in hosting like the local basketball games as well, like being the courtside with the mic and playing the music and running around, getting the crowd hyped, and doing halftime shows and stuff like that. And some of that actually made it to the early internet. It's on YouTube somewhere, some of that stuff. But
so being the proper sort of hype man as well, and I suppose for those sort of events, you need to get the crowd going.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and obviously I love basketball because obviously it's association with hip hop, and and it was just, it sort of went hand in hand, and they all kind of, the organisers of the basketball team really liked what I did, and so that was quite fun. It was a good sort of introduction to emceeing sporting events.
Yeah. But again, it sort of stood you in good stead. So I mean, we'll get to this in a minute. But festivals, obviously, you now host stages. If you're doing a festival, you're hosting that, and obviously, if you can hype up a basketball crowd, then obviously, a load of rowdy sort of, festival goers is probably a lot easier. I would say. I don't know. Maybe easier.
No, definitely, yeah. It is certainly harder to, 2,000 basketball fans are a lot harder to get on and get motivated because they're all walks of life, from young to old and in between. And I remember being told, because I brought a whole bunch. I think I was playing Crafty Cuts. It was like the Freak Show album. I was playing that before the game, and people coming up to me like, "Haven't you got any Michael Jackson?" Or, just more sort of general listening stuff. And I'm like, I don't really.
The bane of every DJ's life, the requests.
But to be fair, it's a basketball game. There's young people. It's like, it's not the Kurnel show. It's me just hosting a local basketball game. But
I guess that's where part of the skill comes from, isn't it? Is being able to read the crowd and sort of give them a bit of what they want and a bit of what you want, and sort of balancing it out. That's the whole key of any sort of set, isn't it? Really.
Absolutely, you know, and these are all learning curves for a young Kurnel trying to carve his path.
Yeah. But again, it's like you said, it just stands you in good stead for further down the line because you've had that experience from a young age. And well, let's talk about. Well, no, we haven't quite got that actually. I was going to say let's talk about the kids, but we haven't quite got that yet. But that's fine. Just to pause for a second, just say hello to a few people. Mary Stems, if I haven't said hello. Funky Flavors, hello. Double P and everyone else tuning in. If you can host, that's great. Hit the host button. And if you're listening in on electromagnetic radio, then come join the conversation on Twitch, twitch.tv/45day, and see what's going on. Right, okay. So what sort of age is that then when you're sort of doing the basketball hosting?
So that was from 22 through to, well, right up to 27, 28, not long before we sort of moved here, to be fair. I did it for 5 years, the basketball and the Master Pilot Live, and the DJing was kind of like this 5-year period of just sole focus on music. I did have a day job. I worked at Rebel Sport, which was like a Sports Direct, just sort of, as a sales assistant there. And I would do, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday there, and then Wednesday, Thursday, Friday nights was music. So
yeah.
And at the end of the weekend, I still had no money. So
it's a tough, music's not, unless you hit the really big time, there's not a lot of money in music. That's any downside to it all. But it's like we said a bit earlier, it's a passion. And at the end of the day, if it's what makes you happy, then it's important. And, we talk about mental health, but one of the things about any mental health is just being happy in your own skin and happy doing what you want to do if you can. As long as it's not causing any detriment to any other person, then it doesn't matter, does it? Like you say, not having a huge amount of money if you're happy.
That's right. It's about experiences. At that time, I was about experiences and seeing things and, making memories and having fun and making music and, being in dark, dingy studios at night, recording weird noises on ADATs and things like that, coming up with crazy rhymes, off the top of your head and then just recording them and seeing how it sounds. And just that experimentation, which was, just... You see other bands and other acts in their early days, like I don't know, anyone, and just the experimentation that comes out of that early process and that imagination, and that you can't make that up. It just happens. Some of the stuff. There's one song, and I'll never forget it. It was on our first Master Pilot album, and it starts. We're in the studio recording. It's late at night. In New Zealand, I don't know if you get them here much, but you're doing some cicadas, right? Or cicadas, I don't know what you call them, but
right.
And in summer, they go crazy everywhere in New Zealand, and they even climb up power poles, like light power poles at night, and they will chirp at the light because they think it's the sun.
Right.
And
okay.
Chirp all night. And right outside the studio was a street light, and there was a cicada chirping its head off so loud that I was trying to record my vocals, and the cicada was coming through over top of my vocal.
Crazy.
So I was like, how are we going to get rid of this? And we're like, we're not. We're going to put it in the track properly. So like hanging out the studio window with the mic out towards the street light, and got a proper take of this cicada chirping, and then we actually mixed it into the track so that right from the very it actually starts with the cicada sound, and it doesn't stop for 4.5 minutes, and it's in the full background of the tune. The song was called Ploinkinator.
That's like a proper field recording, isn't it? And also, like you say, it's the experimentation of like, you know what? Let's not battle it. Let's bring it in. Yeah, let's bring it in and create something with it. That's amazing.
Totally. So just things like that. Young imaginative minds that I have to sort of regress back to think about that sometimes in order to bring that out again, because I was carefree then and my mind was uncluttered with other things. So it was a beautiful time.
Polly's got a very good comment. It's so funny. We have many cicada, and every time we're out and they're crazy, we yell, "Your snare sounds like shit."
Yes, Polly.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant. That's a great comment. But yeah, and I guess like you say, when a band's in the early days or anything when you're doing stuff at an early day, it's just the experimentation and not knowing where it's going to take you. That's part of the excitement, isn't it? It's like, who knows? Who knows what's around the corner? Who knows what's going to happen next? And that's something that music does give you, I think, and sort of being part of it. Okay, so I think we're getting a bit closer to you sort of moving to the UK.
Getting there, yeah.
Yeah. So let's move to that bit first then. So obviously New Zealand is almost as far away from the UK as you can get.
It is actually. Yeah.
First of all, how did that come about? And that's it's pretty big moving a country. I sort of did it, but only very briefly. It didn't quite work out. We had to come back, but it's pretty full on. Leaving everything going to the other side of the world and starting again. So how did you get there first of all, and what was the sort of mindset going through that?
Yeah, sure. So, the first thing, I guess, the reason I'm here is because I married an English woman. That's the first reason. I met Karen in 2001 when she was traveling around New Zealand. And she met a young Kurnel with a terrible mullet that wore a beanie all the time, and it was missing a tooth. And we got together, and she was only supposed to be in New Zealand for 6 months, and ended up staying for 10 years.
Wow.
So I mean, that was the reason we moved here. Basically, we decided in about 2010 that we would look at it. I think we've kind of skipped to the part now where we're here, moving here, I guess. And we thought the kids are getting to the age where they were about to start school. They were 2 and 4, and wherever they start school, we didn't want to pull them out. So we thought this is the time, 2012. And Karen had spent 10 years in New Zealand for me, and I was ready for something new. I hadn't lived overseas. I hadn't lived out of my hometown. I'd only lived at like 3 different houses in the sort of 25 years of my age.
Yeah.
And I thought, right, let's do this. And I was keen to sort of get over here, really.
Cool. So it sounds like it wasn't really a difficult decision. But when you got here, was it a big culture shock, or was it okay? I mean, where did you? Because I think you're in Winborne now. Is that right?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, just out of.
Is that where you first landed, or did you sort of live somewhere else for a bit first?
We came straight here, basically. I mean, we did come here in 2007 before we had kids.
Yeah.
I came to meet Karen's family, and to explain to them why she hadn't been home for 7 years, and and that I plan to marry her and that I love her, and get the blessing and get a bit of sightseeing at the same time. And realize, Winborne's a lovely, lovely town. It's not too far from the sea. I'm from a coastal town, quite similar to Bournemouth. I guess it's just a bit smaller.
Right.
And thought I could live here. It's not too far from the sea. It's a lovely place. The schools are really good. Why not? Let's do it. So and yes, to return the favor as well to my wife, who had lived here for so many years, and I wanted to get out and see some of the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So are you going back to New Zealand for the next 10 years, or are you staying here now?
We were only supposed to come here for 2. It's been 10. So and probably not
like it. But I guess as the kids are sort of this is their home now, I guess.
Yeah, well, that's it. My daughter doesn't really know. She doesn't remember New Zealand. My son does. He's a little bit older. He remembers New Zealand. But we've been back. We've only been back once in 10 years as a family.
Yeah.
Because it's it's a long way and it's really expensive.
Yeah, definitely.
But my son is a Kiwi kid at heart, proper Kiwi kid. He will walk down the street with no shoes on and no top if he could. I'll put your shoes on. I was like, no. And then Karen, she's like reminding me, come on, you never used to do that. I'm like, oh yeah, this is true. Over here, you just call a chav if you do that, but in New Zealand, it's fine. But
that's the culture difference, isn't it?
It is. So coming back to that, there was a bit of a culture difference, even though we're both obviously Commonwealth English speaking countries.
Yeah.
The pace of life over here is just so much faster than New Zealand. It's just so and that's why opposites attract. I think sometimes is that we're just so peaceful and down to earth, and still leave doors unlocked, and kids roaming free in the street, no shoes on. So that was a bit of a culture shock. for me. But also, I guess even settling in, it took me months to really to chill out and to settle. I was not sleeping well. I was, worried about home, as you do, I guess. It's a totally alien world. I was trying to finish an EP as well, which was my own. It was called Mouth of the South, which is an EP I released solo. I was trying to finish that in my spare time. I hadn't got a job yet for about, it was a good 6-8 weeks. We were bunked up at my wife's sister's place, my sister-in-law's place. They were getting sick of us.
That's always tough, isn't it?
And I'm trying to write music and pretend that I'm looking for a job, but actually I'm just writing a track. So we got here and we got settled, and we transitioned in the end. It wasn't easy, but we did it.
Well, yeah, you got through it, and it's like you say, it's always going to be difficult, isn't it? Going to somewhere completely different, and also it's almost a bit final, isn't it? Because you sort of come here, and it's not like it's France or somewhere that you could just nip straight back to the channel. You made a big jump to sort of come to the other side of the world, and then obviously you can't just fly back and then, right, I've had enough of this after 6 weeks, I'm going to go back. So obviously that, like you said, a little bit of pressure going on there. Right, let's talk about that then. So obviously you're doing an EP on your own. Back in New Zealand, obviously you had your crew and you DJing and that. So how did you go about sort of linking up with people in the UK? Had you had people connections before you came over, or did you start from scratch when you got here?
Yeah, well, that actually probably leads back to the bit before quite nicely, actually, just before we kind of moved here. So after the band Master Pilot disbanded, I formed a MC DJ duo with the guitarist who was also a DJ, a breakbeat DJ.
Right.
He was in a New Zealand band called Minwi as well, which was a really, they were cutting edge electronica kind of music from New Zealand. I don't even know who to, maybe like Pinau or something like that, kind of really edgy kind of sound. And he was in that band, and I was sort of wanting something new after the band broke up, and it was a bit gutting. And he had been touring with his band over here, and he brought back a bunch of breakbeat records. So he was Plump DJs and Crafty Cuts.
Yeah.
And anyway, so jumping back to where you were, so when I moved here, we had been supporting the likes of Decline, Crafty, A Skills, Freestylers, Matt Nash.
Right. I see. Yeah.
And so I basically tapped them up. I was just like, hey, I've moved here from New Zealand. Do you remember me? This MC from such and such, proper like. They were like, actually, no, I do remember you. You're all right.
Yeah.
And it was actually Decline and Ben Child, who's Jurassic, is one of his, either his manager or something like that. And they were like, yeah, we're doing these Jungle Cakes nights in London.
Yeah.
If you want to come up and perform, but because I was totally bottom tier, entry level MC, it was I had to do the whole sell 10 tickets and which obviously wouldn't do now, and would kind of shun upon anyone doing that now. But that's what I did. Sold 10 tickets. I sold 35 tickets actually. All I did was I leaned on my the Kiwis in London Facebook page, which has 150,000 people, and I said, guys, if any of you want to come to this gig, I'm new here, but I've got this really cool gig at Jam in Brixton. It'd be awesome if you came along, supported, and sold 30 tickets straight off the bat. I was like, oh, cheers, guys.
Amazing.
Yeah, bro.
Amazing.
And they were like, yeah, you can come anytime. You're going to sell that many tickets.
Brilliant.
So I think I did two nights with Decline in London, and then the Stanton Warriors were all under that sort of umbrella as well. They played in Bournemouth, and I ended up playing in Bournemouth supporting Stanton Warriors. And that's where one of the guys from, I think the guys from the Winchester and a few of those crew from the Bournemouth crew sort of came along and seen me there. And we're like, oh, this is MC doing some stuff here. He's local. And we kind of linked up through the Winchester in Bournemouth. And that's how I met these guys the night was called Ghetto Jam. I've actually got a poster of the first one I was involved with on my wall, and that was like Bubba King, Jason and Justin, Bubba King, Cockney Nut Job, Cursor, DeFoo, they're 45 boys, and they started getting me along to host their nights at the Winchester, and we actually became really good friends that way because we're all similar age and getting a bit older, having kids, and so that was kind of my in over here.
Well, that's cool, isn't it? The way you were, well, a number of things come out of that. Obviously, the fact that you were able to sort of link back to what you've been doing in New Zealand, the fact that you had the support from the New Zealanders is brilliant, and the fact that they were happy to support you is brilliant. And also, it's interesting that I think it probably still does happen a little bit in the music industry now. Obviously, this whole concept of, well, if you want to play, you've got to promote or you've got to do this. And like you say, it's not something you'd recommend at all, but it's something that is going to happen. Anyone starting out in the music industry has got to do something, sadly, to sort of show their worth. But it's good that it sort of worked out in that way, and it wasn't something that they used you for. Obviously you had the skills as well. It wasn't like you just some rubbish MC who's selling a load of tickets. You obviously had the skills enough to prove to them that you could do it.
Yeah, well, but that's it, and that's what it's all about sometimes, is just putting yourself out there, That's how people get their shot. I figure I'm too old to get my shot at the big time now, but I'm still driven, I'm still passionate, and I still want to, have a good time and show that, I have a skill set worthy of any party and want to rock any party with anyone. Doesn't matter who they are. And they were like stoked, and, and got me back for a few more. And then I was kind of like, as I sort of thought about it, I'm like, okay, I'm starting to get it crude now in Bournemouth. There's no point sort of busting my butt back and forth when I can really see something establishing here quite nicely.
Yeah, and it's almost doing what you did back in New Zealand, isn't it? You establish yourself in your hometown. It's doing it in your own hometown in the UK.
Well, these boys
building it up.
Those boys who already had, Ghetto Jam was already going. It wasn't like it started when I was there. I just sort of came along and sort of fitted their mold, if you like, and try to add my sort of energy and sort of passion to what they were doing and sort of help, bring that up and take that in a new direction.
And that's one of the best things about music, isn't it? Is the collaborations. You just never know who you're going to come across and, what's going to fit in. And, like you say, the fact that they saw something in what you were doing and said, right, okay, come and host our event. Because I don't know, did they have hosts before that or not? Or were you sort of one of the first hosts?
No, I know that like Jason from Bubba King, and he had tried emceeing that before, and they'd all been like, yeah, don't do that again, Jason. Don't.
Yeah.
And
it looks easy, but it's not.
yeah, and they did have some, they would be part of a rap night or something, for instance, where there'd be, rap on early, and then they would play afterwards, and go from hip hop through mid tempo into house and that, and some of the rappers would stay on and do some stuff, but I think what they really liked was that I knew when not to rap. That's why a lot of people like what I do, is because I know when to shut up.
Yeah. Well, that's the skill of any MC, isn't it? It's not being over the top, but also knowing when to sort of step back and let the music do the talking effectively, and then when to sort of come in and when to sort of hype things up. And like you say, that skill's been built up over many years of you doing it. Definitely. Cool. Okay. So where are we up to at this then? What sort of age and what sort of year are we talking when you're here?
Well, we moved here in 2012, so I would have been. I can't remember now. I can't even do maths anymore. It must have been 30.
10 years ago. Yeah, 10 years ago.
Yeah, well, I'm 40 this year. Yeah, so yeah. So I would have been 29 when we moved here.
Yeah.
And had met. I think I'd met the Ghetto Jam crew and Bubba King at about 2012, 2013. After going out to their nights and sort of, hounding them to let me on. So, yeah.
And then it sort of builds from there, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, then I met, that's when I met Cockney Nut Job, who was my first first DJ producer that I started working with here in the UK. And we put out The Wackiest Jam. That was one of the first ones we did, and that was a collaboration between Bubba King, Cockney Nut Job, and myself. And it was a rip-off of the intro to the Mickey Mouse show, not the club, but the Mickey Mouse show, the cartoon one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then just turned it into this real wacky jam with a heavy bass line. It was all wobbly and a bit weird, and but it was great. It just kind of showed, what Bubba King and what Cockney Nut Job are like as sort of energetic, bouncy producers and DJs, and then I brought the kind of raps and then Cockney Nut Job and I actually we formed a really tight sort of bond after that, and it would always be like on the Ghetto Jam nights I would be emceeing with Cockney Nut Job for his set, but then just do listing on everyone else's and introductions and stuff, and that's when we started producing music and releasing, singles and EPs ourselves. We started self-releasing a couple of early ones and like some bootlegs, and they went really well. A couple got picked up by Scour, and then we released a couple on Cutting It Fine as well a bit more recently. But that friendship really bonded, and that's where I had my first festival set with, actually, was with Cockney Nut Job.
Yeah, because I think the first time I met you, it was a little bit of an embarrassing story, but that was at the at Shindig, I think 2017 maybe. I was with Jellyfunk also. We'd won the competition, so we were opening the Ghetto Funk nightclub. So we were like, wow, hyped. I think we'd brought our own mixer in, and you guys were on right after us. And just as I was unplugging our mixer, the sound just cut off after you guys had started, and everyone was like, whoa, and I was like, shit. I was like, fucking hell. I was like desperately trying to plug something back in again. And you guys were really cool. You're like, yeah, it happens, fuck it.
In my head, I'm like, I hate that guy.
Exactly. Get that guy off the stage now. But it was like, yeah, let's just start again. But yeah, I think that's where I first met you guys, and yeah, you killed it that night. And then I think I did an interview with Matt afterwards and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, I've mentioned Shindig, so let's talk about Shindig. So, how did you get into Shindig? How did you get into that sort of crew? And, tell us about some of the festivals you've done there, and then we'll talk about, obviously, what's coming up later this week. Cool.
Yeah, well, that actually stems from the Ghetto Jam nights in Bournemouth. So as they kind of grew, they were getting headline acts, and they started getting headline acts from Ghetto Funk from Bristol. Yeah. So you'd have like WBBL would come down and headline our nights, B-side, Roast Beats, who was local, Feature Cast, a bunch of Ghetto Funk headliners every other month would come down. And, they'd come down, I'd be emceeing with Nut Job, and Joe, WBBL was like, oh, do you want to stay on for my set? You're really good MC. Do you want to do some MC? Yeah, sure, fine. And B-side, and that would say the same thing. And then they would go, obviously, away back home or back to other gigs. And I'm like, oh, there's this really good MC in Bournemouth. I think we should start, let's see if we can get him involved with some of the sort of Ghetto Funk stuff that we do. And that's when Cockney Nut Job applied for Shindig. Yeah. It was in the Thread store back then, in the merchandise stand. They had one half it was a DJ stand and one half was merch. Yeah. And obviously, like the emerging DJs or up and coming DJs, and we got a set in there, and that was the first. That was I think 2016 2016. That was a year before you guys opened the nightclub.
I'm pretty sure it's 17 that we did it.
That'd be right. Yeah. And we played in this little merchandise stand, and I still remember it now. When I started the set, and I was in like a bright tie-dyed T-shirt, typical festival gear, really bright coloured and lovely. And then at that point, we'd done a Gold Digger remix by Kanye West, but we had fucked it up to like 115 BPM. And I ducked out the back of the tent, and I came back in this full pimp suit, like this velvet pimp suit with like leopard skin trim, big gold glasses, big chain.
Brilliant.
Into this tiny little thread store and like rocked out as I call my nickname was Kurnel East.
Fantastic. That's brilliant.
That was my alias for the rest of the set. Yeah.
But it's good, isn't it, to see how you go? Obviously, you played, I think, pretty much every Shindig that's been. Obviously, there's been a couple that haven't happened because of COVID. But it's later this week, isn't it?
It is indeed
coming up. I mean, there's the Ghetto Funk nightclub that you're hosting or co-hosting with Prophet and Kathika and Natty as well. But I mean, look at that lineup.
That's it's like one of 9 stages or 7 stages. You know, it's just a mad lineup, and you know, like every year, it's been a privilege to be a part of it. Every single festival or gig that I play, it's always, you know, never take any of that for granted because you just don't know when it's going to stop. And I think we kind of found that out a few years ago.
Well, yeah. I
Like-
mean, that's the thing. I mean, well, let's talk about that now. Actually, that's probably a good time to talk about it because obviously, you know, things were building and you're getting more and more festival events and stuff, and then obviously that then just stopped. You know,
Yeah.
like everything else. Certainly back in 2020 when sort of first lockdown and COVID sort of hit and all the rest of it. How did that affect you? Obviously, as firstly as an entertainer and obviously a rapper. You know, how did that affect you at that time?
Yeah, well, at first, I kind of thought, I mean, I was very, very fortunate as that I didn't stop working or anything like that. I work in the building industry. I work for a builder's merchant, and they didn't close. So very fortunate to just go to work and come home every single day, like nothing was wrong. It was quite a strange sensation. So I was quite fortunate to sort of go and come from work. But I genuinely thought that this would be a short-term thing. I was thinking, you know, give it a few months and it's going to go away. It's just this virus. It's not going to do a lot. And obviously it built. And then, you know, we kind of got through that first wave and came out into the spring, and all the cases started dropping again. And we're like, right, this is it. We're back on. That's it. It's done. It's gone. And then, no, back we come, back into another wave. And then everything shut down for another year. I was still of the mindset that I think we're going to be all right. I'll be all right. You know, I was still writing music, like, and whereas my friends were like, you know, their livelihoods are being taken away from them, like completely. They were completely, you know, had no income whatsoever, and I was trying to support them as much as possible, and I was watching them obviously start to stream and seeing how they were sort of. That was becoming an avenue for them to release music, to make some income, and to have some sense of normality. And I just thought, this is a great thing. But I thought to myself, it's not for me. You know, I'm like, this isn't going to last either.
And here we are, 2.5 years later.
Exactly. And I thought this isn't going to last. And then we came out of it again.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, this time, like, I think if we go back into another lockdown, it's going to ruin. This is where the mental health started coming in, because my outlet was obviously music was my release.
Yeah.
I could get my emotions out. I could get my feelings out onto pen and paper and create some music using my thoughts. And that would be my outlet. Whether it ever got recorded or released, that was just my outlet. And when I realized that, you know, that I could still write music, but I couldn't release it or share it, that's when I thought, oh no, this is really quite something. And that's when it started affecting me more.
Yeah.
You know, and so I then started like, right, I think I'm going to need to like bite the bullet here and jump onto Twitch and sort of get involved. I was quite heavily involved in the chat, and I was going to, once they opened up again, starting to go to Bub Cave and B-sides and featuring on their streams.
Yeah.
But never did it myself. And so I thought, right, I need to bite the bullet, and borrowed and stole computers and hardware and everything I could to get it set up.
Well, again, it's coming back to, you know, MCing. You know, streaming looks so easy. It looks like you just, you know, plug a computer in, start playing it, but it's not, and that brings it a whole nother level of things. I mean, even you know, I mean, I stream all the time, but like I did a set on Friday, and for some reason the sound wasn't working. I was like so annoyed. I was like, what the hell, you know, all this stuff. But yeah, it's interesting what you're saying, isn't it? You know, did it affect your writing? Did you find that you were writing about different things through the pandemic?
Absolutely. I released a track called "The Other Side," which was produced by Azito88 and B-side and Shiero Beats. Azito88 is a lo-fi producer from Taiwan.
Okay.
And it's literally about that. It's about getting through these, you know, terrible times and seeing you on the other side, you know. But it's very dark, it's very waily and quite drony and very unlike what I usually write. You know, the artwork's very dark. It's just totally where I was, you know, and where a lot of us were at that time, you know. And that came out in that way, and there's no other way it was going to come out, to be honest.
I guess in one sense, you were saying earlier on about experimenting, and with the cicadas and the sound. I guess in one sense, this allowed you to experiment with something completely different to what you'd normally make.
Yeah,
So
totally.
So in that sense, it had some positive. I know there's a lot of
Oh,
negatives.
yeah. No, it was because it opened me up. It's the most vulnerable I've ever been in a song, is in that song. So, and I had a lot of positive feedback about how open.
Yeah.
I was, and because generally it's all party. It's all not always, but party. I'm a party MC. What can I say? I love the party. I love a good time. But seeing that bit of a more sensitive side, a vulnerable side, really touched a lot of people, I think, and it resonated with people because we're all going through it as well. It's like we can all relate to trying to get through this mess together, if you like.
Yeah.
We will see you on the other side. It's a finite thing. It's just, can we get to that light at the end?
It's just getting to that line, and I think part of the problem was there was so many sort of false hopes and false starts, wasn't there? It's like, right, it's going to be here. Oh no, it's not, and it's going to be there, and then I think hopefully we're now through it for the most part, and obviously festivals and events are sort of starting to happen and all the rest of it. So hopefully we are at that end. Okay, so you get to Twitch, obviously having sort of, not wanting to do it and not wanting to be part of it and sort of thinking, I guess it was almost, what's the point? We're going to be back out there soon. There's not much point setting up all this equipment and everything else to do it. But you then did get onto Twitch. So how long ago was that?
A year and a month, I think. Yeah, a year and a month ago, I think I did my first streams at the end of March 2021. And then, just started streaming. Obviously, you get your sort of up to affiliate status. I was doing Sunday mornings and Friday evenings with the Fridays crew, which we sort of started up. B-Side, Bones, Bubba King, myself, Guten Morgan, and Jason King as well, because they obviously it's separate. And then, I've been trying to be consistent. Obviously now in the last few months, I've kind of tailed off a bit because, festivals are now a thing again. Yay, hooray.
Yeah.
And I'm writing more music. But, there was loads of months. We had some hilarious nights where we obviously, we'd have a few beers and then we'd stream. And then we'd get off the stream, the height of lockdown, we all did it, jump off the stream into the group, Facebook videos, and we're playing those stupid games where you're trying to eat burgers and stuff with your face and those filters, and we're getting quite leery. These would go on till quite some time in the morning.
Brilliant.
And through that we created a lot of friends, a lot of friendships as well. Yeah. And now we're starting to meet some of these friends from Twitch in real life and forming real life bonds. I mean, Polly, one of the crew in the chat, met her for the first time last year. And after that first lockdown last year, and we came out, it got eased the week before my birthday, which was this week last year.
Right.
And I had a party in my backyard. I don't know if you've heard about this.
I remember seeing some stuff on Facebook.
Behind enemy loins.
Yeah. I remember now, yeah.
And that's where I met a bunch of the Twitch crew, Bones, and had Towley round and Roo, and we just had a massive, well, not massive, but a mini festival in the backyard. We had up to 30 people, which you could legally have then. Massive. Yeah. DJs all afternoon, food, drinks, and that was all, and it was all streamed to Twitch. Yeah. Hilarious, Polly. Yeah, and it was just, it was a madness. It was just so much fun and silly, and it was all thanks to Twitch. And I would, like a year ago, pre-COVID, I'm like, why would I want to set up a camera in my backyard and have a party in my backyard where I can just go to a festival and get, on it there? And here we are. It was in 2021. Having the peak time. Like, that was the best possible party you could have anywhere in the UK. Was in my backyard.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? It's what Twitch has sort of done, and again, sort of linking that into what's happening tomorrow, with like the Soul Train. I mean, they're doing like a live event in Shoreditch, in Box Park, where they're streaming it all, and all these people. I think Dawn Perignon's flown over, and someone else has flown over from America or something to be part of this event. That has just been something that's been going on in Twitch for the last year, on a weekly basis. It's bonkers,
It's been amazing.
Bonkers.
Like, that's it. Twitch has really, really opened the door for, it's really opened the door for me as well as everyone else. But there's a whole world of people we would have never have met otherwise. There's absolutely no chance that we would have met the amazing people that we have and the massive crew that we have around us now, and the mates and the in jokes. Oh my goodness!
Yeah,
the foul mouths on some of these Twitch crew. Well, we love a bit of innuendo. Not going to lie.
Definitely. But it's what's kept us going, and I think it's that community that has been the biggest thing. And I was talking to someone about this the other day. As you get older, it used to be that it was quite hard to sort of make new friends and new connections and stuff. But I think because we're sort of in the music, and because we've got this passion and obviously able to, I've got, like you, tons of new friends and tons of new people that I know that I've connected with, more so than I ever thought I would have, getting to this sort of age. And every time, you switch Twitch on, you meet someone new. That's what still blows my head. You're doing something and someone comes in your chat, or someone you chat to someone, and you're always meeting new people, and everyone's pretty cool. That's the thing. And it's the same with what we've done with the 45 Kings and 45 Day. We just built up a community. We've got 45s in common, and that's about it. But we've all sort of created, and it is, it's amazing, the community that's been built, and the Twitch family and everything. It's crazy.
Totally. And some of the DJs are like so motivational and encouraging and inspiring, and that's what it's all about. And the crew are inspiring and funny and silly, and not all serious. So it's just it's really awesome to be part of that community as well now.
It is. It's been amazing, and it's. We've touched on the kids, but let's talk about that now, because your kids are both into sort of music in their own sort of way. I'm going to put a photo of Avalon, and she's
there she is,
dancer.
Yeah, absolutely,
and quite a successful one. I think, did I see on Facebook she's won some awards and prizes?
Yeah. You should see her rooms. There's medals and trophies all over one wall. She's really passionate about dancing. She is in the middle of a application for Leaf Academy, which is a dance and sport academy focused around that, and then they do their GCSEs around that, and they're studying around that. So we're waiting to hear back from that, and she's just really bright, intelligent young woman who's going to succeed at whatever she does. She's you do big up your own children, but I know she's just stubborn, and she's passionate, and she's driven. It's
just about also giving them the freedom to just be themselves, and follow their own passions. That's I think part of it, isn't it? Really.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then I've got Malachi there as well.
Yeah, this little cool dude, isn't he?
And he's well, we got a little clip here because I think this was his first festival last year at the Love Summer.
Yeah, it was. Love Summer 2021, and he did a beatbox interlude for me in the middle of my set.
So he's following in your footsteps. So anyway, let's have a quick watch of that. Let me just get that back to the beginning of that clip. Oh, hold on.
If I still feel
in the background with the full t-shirt.
Focus on the pain. It's the only thing that I'm hurt. I'm her.
That's dope. That's dope. But you could see how proud you were in the background, sort of, giving it that. I mean, how did that feel? Your son up there following your footsteps at a festival, killing it. I mean, what was going through your head?
I'm just the pinnacle of proudness, really. I'm just like, go, son, go. You own that stage, you just, he did. He took it and he ran with it and he owned it. And, I just couldn't be prouder of him. That's all, really. My heart was just absolutely overflowing with joy and pride. And it's just like, I melted into a puddle of love then. But yeah, it was great.
It's amazing. I mean, you met her briefly earlier, Zizi, but she's done a few streams and she's got her first sort of proper festival gig this weekend on Saturday. And it's like, every time she plays out, we were talking about this with DJ D last week because her son DJ O is 5 now and he's one of the youngest of the 45 kids. But it's just the lack of any sort of inhibitions. They just get up and do it. It's amazing, and I can see that obviously from your son as well. I don't know I assume he was a bit nervous, but he got up and do it in front of a crowd. And we were saying obviously as you get older, your brain's like, oh, what will people think of me, or will people like it? Will it be negative? Will it be positive? Whereas at that sort of age, it's like, what, it doesn't matter.
People's opinions are that
exactly. I'm going to do my thing. I'm going to get up there, do my thing, and just get on with it. And there's something to be said for that. It's amazing. Hopefully it will last long, and we're sort of building this confidence in them that will just keep going and going and going. I mean, what's his next plans? Obviously, you've explained what your daughter's planning to do. What's he planning to do with music?
Well, he doesn't really know. He hasn't really thought forward a lot. He's very much a teenage boy. He lives in the moment. He lives for the weekend. He lives for his friends. He's really good on bass guitar. He plays in the school band. He's performed, at a few concerts for the school. He loves hip hop and trap and drill, all the new sort of the heavier stuff that's out there. He loves that. Loves drum and bass. Yeah. I'm not sure whether it's something that he will do long term or sort of progress further. At the moment, he's mountain biking. He's mad about mountain biking, so he's out every weekend with his mates mountain biking. But like even this evening, up in his room, he watches beatbox videos. He's listening to music all the time. It's in him. He can't keep still. He's always humming or singing, or the Alexa's always on and loud, and so if he doesn't pursue it any further, it really doesn't matter.
No, of course not.
He's but I think it's all in us. It's all in him. It's in the family. It's not going anywhere in terms of the love for music in general. But
it's also, I did ask also with music. Sorry, I think also with music, isn't it? You can just sort of pick it up as and when the opportunity arises. He might leave it for a few years and then 5 years down the line sort of start DJing or start beatboxing or playing guitar, playing bass. It's one of those. I think, like you said, once it's in you, it's very difficult to not be musical in some form.
That's it, yeah.
So that's cool. Right, let's talk about a couple of other things then. You were part of a children's song that won an award just last week, wasn't it? Tell us about how, firstly, you got involved in that and what it's to do with. Because I mean, I've looked into it since we sort of started speaking, but it's to do with tall poppy syndrome. Yep. So just tell us a little bit about that, and obviously how you came to be involved in the song and how it progressed from there.
Cool. Yeah. So the song was called Ep.22, which means stand together in Māori, my native sort of tongue, if you like. And it's about, basically about fighting tall poppy syndrome. It's about lifting people up instead of bringing them down. New Zealand tends to have a culture of, we put down before we sort of help lift up. And there's that mentality of that. Because of that, that we also have this, as we get older, this she'll be right attitude where everything must be okay and she'll be right. And from that, having that mindset from so young and leading into adult life, New Zealand actually has a really, really high suicide rate.
Yeah.
And it's because of that issue starting so young and leading into adulthood that actually, if we can stem it at the young age, where we, let's lift each other up, let's raise each other together, let's help each other be the best we can. And not necessarily be the same, but be individual and be creative and be yourself. I'm perfect as I am is like the key message in that song. And that track, Ep.22 Tangata, we won Best Children's Song of the Year this year at the APRA Music Awards, which is like the big music awards in New Zealand.
Yeah, congratulations, man. So good.
Thank you. Yeah, it's awesome. And that was written by Ryan Berry, who was the guitarist from my band back in the day, and a children's songwriter called Kath B, and she is from my home. We're all from Nelson, and she's been like quite a prolific children's songwriter for like 20 plus years since I've been, we both started out, when we were quite young and have continued through, and she's really prolific now and doing really well. And she came to, we had done a song actually before called Magic and Me, Kath and I, which we just did together and put out there, and that was quite good. That was about, we've all got the magic inside us. And then we got funding from the Ep.22 Tangata sort of foundation, which was the foundation starting this movement in fighting tall poppy syndrome. And they funded us to write a song. And then that song was going to then become the backbone of the resources and assets that went out to primary schools.
Wow.
So it's now being, that message and that song is being played across, hundreds of schools around Aotearoa, New Zealand, and the kids are learning the message through that, and it's spreading through that. And, if you look on Kath's Instagram, she's just, there's schools all up and down the country singing the song, and her Instagram is full of people making up like dances to it, and it's really, really spread organically throughout the children of New Zealand and the people that around the world who enjoy the message as well. And I think that's probably one of the reasons why it works so well, and why it won the award, because it reached a lot of people, it's touched a lot of lives, and it's a great message, and I can't help but be behind something like that. So,
I mean, it's so important, and like you say, we've talked about this a little bit on the show before. It's like I said, that there's not a huge amount of negativity, thankfully, in the people that I've met and the people that we've got involved. But like you say, it's one of the benefits, I think, of Twitch is the raiding, the hosting, and it's always like, go and follow this DJ, go and follow this person, be part of this. It's bigging people up all the time, which is quite unusual, and certainly, certainly in the music industry as a whole, I don't think generally happened before. And it's interesting that there is clearly a need to encourage the children from a young age that yes, this person might be better at sports, or this person might be better at music, or this person might be there, but don't bring them down. No. Encourage them, be happy for them,
absolutely,
because then they're going to be happy for you, whatever you go into doing. It's a brilliant message. Let's put it on. Let's have a listen to the song. Let me just get it on. Together.
And what do I see? A valuable person smiling back at me. I look in the mirror, and what do I see? A valuable person smiling back at me.
No, nobody likes to be put down. That makes you feel so low with your eyes on the ground. These words can hurt, they do more than make a sound. If you think you can stop and turn it around. Together.
I look to my left, I look to my right, and what do I see? Valuable people smiling back at me. I look to my left, I look to my right, and what do I see?
I'm here to support you, never ignore you. If you need anybody, I'll do anything for you. From the day we were born and our whole life through. Come on and shout with me, I have value. Kia kaha tō waiata me te aroha. E tu tangata o te whenua. Kia kaha tō waiata me te aroha. E tu tangata o te whenua. Kia kaha tō waiata me te aroha.
Doesn't matter where I come from or what's my jam, 'cause I'm here to tell you I'm perfect as I am. Perfect as I am. Perfect as I am. Perfect as I am. Perfect. Perfect as I am. Perfect as I am. Perfect as I am. Perfect.
Together.
Yeah.
That's such a positive message. Such a
Yeah.
positive message. Really good. Really good. Probably need to get it in schools around the UK and other countries as well, I would imagine. You know, it's something that would probably work in a lot of countries.
Yeah, definitely. I obviously it's with the Maori part in it, it's very sort of focused towards New Zealand and Polynesian sort of community in New Zealand, but there's no reason why that message cannot go further abroad. Absolutely none at all.
Definitely. And again, that must make you so proud to be part of that.
Yeah,
and
I never.
obviously the difference it's making. You know,
When I was
clearly it's
17.
making a difference already.
Yeah, when I was rapping under the street light when I was 17, I don't think I won a children's music award.
Yeah, exactly.
I was going to be making gangster rap for the rest of my life, yo.
It's a little far from Snoop Dogg and Doggy Style. But you know that's where you started. This is where you are now.
It's the journey. It's the journey.
And it's also about being true to what you are. You know, you're not a gangster from LA, or the East Coast or whatever. You know, you're someone who's got kids, who knows that this is an important thing, and you're using your skills and abilities to be able to put that message across.
Yeah, that's it.
And as Mary Stem said, a beautiful message. You know, it definitely is a beautiful message. No, that's really important. That's really important. Okay, let's talk about a couple more things. You've got a record out at the moment with Suck Aside.
Yes, I do.
Tell us about that. How did you get involved with Tim, and how did that sort of come about?
I think that came about probably this very day last year when he was standing in my backyard, and we were having
a party,
and we were like, we should do a song, and we we're like, as all musicians do, let's do a song. Yeah. And then nothing happens for a year, and then here we are. But no, this has been a work in progress for a while now. Obviously, I do stuff with B-side, and B-side is one part of Suck Aside. And we thought, let's do a tune, and let's sort of break away from the traditional edits that Suck Aside are known for, and do an original song. And it was a bit darker and a bit harder. And again, I delved into some sort of more sort of boasty side of hip hop, which I don't often do.
Yeah.
Which is again leaning towards kind of like, right, I guess it's kind of that insecurity almost that you don't, that if you stop, that you're going to get almost like overlooked or sort of, fall by the wayside. So but you think that, maybe I thought in my head, we've come out of lockdown, things are happening again. Do people remember who I am? My head's like, oh, have I been forgotten about? This is kind of what I was writing anyway when I was brainstorming. And then I'm like, no. I'm this, I'm that, I'm this, I'm that. I'm like, yeah, right. You can have some of that.
Yeah. Well, I guess it's that fear of, almost like having to start again. Start from scratch.
Absolutely.
Build up everything all over again.
There is that, and there's like, I'm not giving up. Not for anyone. And it could be that I'm turning 40 as well. Like this week, I'm like, am I too old to rap? Am I too old to be?
Life begins at 40. It's very true. Don't worry, it's fine. A quick question from T2 Funk, actually. He says, have you come across Benny Balance in New Zealand?
Benny Balance.
Is that someone you know or not?
I have not. Is Benny Balance a newer? Are they a DJ, a producer?
I don't know. We'll find
Were
out.
they part of the
We'll
band?
wait for T Funk to
Yeah,
to
could
do
be any
that.
balance. No, I haven't.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, if it is in recent years, I'm totally out of touch with New Zealand music. You know, living here, I've immersed myself in what's around me, and
Of course.
it doesn't tend to be a lot of New Zealand music doesn't come through. You have to listen online.
Yeah.
And I do listen to a bit, but not enough.
Have you
Nowhere
not got
near.
anyone in New Zealand sending you mixtapes from New Zealand to the UK now?
I have occasionally someone will send me through something.
Yeah.
Someone sent me through something called the Morse Gang.
Right.
And I watched the video of this. I'm like blown away. It's like, you know, modern hip hop, trappy drill stuff, but it was just brilliant. And I'm just like, oh, I need to listen to more New Zealand music. You know, I've got what I have on my laptops and that, and I do hear, you know, I hear of people putting out albums, but I just need to.
Here we go. He's a DJ producer from Wellington. His bro.
Cool.
So Tony, who's been on the show before, actually,
Yeah, cool.
lives over there, and a guy called Ben Murder. Okay, well there you go.
Yeah,
Check him
nice,
out.
yeah.
Someone
Yeah,
check
great.
him out.
I will totally check him out. You know, a lot of good music comes out of Wellington for sure. Love Wellington, and I would definitely be checking that out.
Oh, cool. Right, let's move on to another song that you've got, Flex Up.
Yeah.
And if you're still up for it, we're going to do a little bit of an exclusive here, aren't we? I think.
Yeah,
Do
do
a
it.
live PA on the show. I think it's the first live PA thing we've done on this show, so we're going to do that. So, do you want to? Are you set? Do you want to get set up? Get your
No,
headphones.
Stand up and stretch my legs because I'd love to fall asleep.
Get your half-broken headphones set up.
Well, actually, maybe I'll just put the normal headphones in. Yeah. Look at them. Look, these are my DJ ones. They don't even have both sides.
That's almost like those sort of lollipop headphones that some DJs use. Right. Let me get you set up over here on your own, and then we'll do that. And then just let me know when you're good to go, and I'll sort out the mic settings so we can hear you clearly.
Okay, right. Let's try this, shall we? I go straight into it, so hopefully it's all right. There's no real kind of no intro.
Okay,
But
cool.
yeah, basically, this is called Flex Up. It's a track about supporting and looking out for you and being there for them when they need you. Because it's been that crazy time, and only now we're starting to be able to get out there and actually support our friends. But yeah, this one's called Flex Up. It's about helping your friends. This world, good, isn't it? Good song. Hang on.
Turn up your mic a little bit.
Yeah? Okay. Hang on. Let's see. Let's try this. I will rap louder when I do go, but we'll try this.
Okay.
This world is a messed up place, but I got your back, cuz yo, in our Eiffel. What you saying, bro? Haha, we flex up. We just bounce. We just bounce. We just bounce. Yeah, we all up in the house. Come on, we just bounce. We just bounce. 45 day, let's go.
Life is messed up. It's harder just to walk with your head up. Every day it's like a struggle to get up. Letting you know that I got your back, cuz yeah, we flex up. Together we flex up. Flipped it on his head and we stepped up. Ditched your negative and got dressed up. Filled up the next cup until we got pepped up. Yeah, we flex up, flex up.
Take my hand when you down, I hope you get up.
Take it.
You're my homie till we die, that's a heads up.
I got you.
Time for honesty, bro, you need to fess up.
The truth.
And it's okay to be sad when you stressed up.
Real talk.
Cause in this river of life, you can't get swept up.
Right.
Like you got dumped in an alley, that's a setup. We gotta flex up, break the tension, and we can talk about it till we ease the apprehension. Switch the focus to a positive and new dimension. And get the mind frame steady in a new direction. When you're strong enough to show your muscle, then flex up. You like a modern day Jesus, that's a resurrection. Or a phoenix rising out the ashes, you went up. There's no telling on this journey where you're gonna end up. So get up and flex up, and together we can take the pressure. Yeah.
Life is messed up. It's harder just to walk with your head up. Every day it's like a struggle to get up. Letting you know that I got your back, cuz yeah, we flex up. Together we flex up. Flipped it on his head and we stepped up. Ditch the negative and got dressed up, filled up the next cup until we got pepped up. Yeah, we flex up, flex up.
Here's a fact, I'm a twat. What up, people? Where you at? I live in a tiny village, it's not even on the map. I win staring competitions, cause I never smile back. See, it's working what I tell you, I can see that smile crack. Hey, you wanna blaze it and chill, listen to some Snoop, or turn the system up and rage in the kitchen too. We could be hipsters and take some pictures of our food. Now turn around and show me what that super noodle do. We could count up the monopoly money, dream of holidays and watching you go chasing the bunnies. Hit the board, hit the car, let the trucks hit the bar, and we could kick, push, coast to way after dark. Yeah, it's hard and it's better when these nights are colder. And when you need to lean, here's my shoulder. Just remember when this bullshit blows over, we'll put our plans into action, man, we're gonna blow up. Right now, I'm just trying to spread a simple message. Lay low, soon enough we gon' be getting festive. So get up and flex up, and together we can take the pressure.
Life is messed up, it's harder just to walk with your head up. Every day it's like a struggle to get up. Letting you know that I got your back, cause yeah, we flex up, together we flex up. Flipped it on his head and we stepped up. Ditch the negative and got dressed up, filled up the next cup until we got pepped up. Yeah, we flex up, flex up.
Say one day we gon' flex up, flex up.
Yeah, one day we gon' flex up, flex up.
Say we getting through this mess together.
Yeah, we getting through this mess together.
Say one day we gon' flex up, flex up.
Come on. One day we gon'
45 days.
flex up.
Say we getting through this mess together.
Yeah, we getting through this mess together. Life is messed up, it's harder just to walk with your head up. Every day it's like a struggle to get up. Letting you know that I got your back, cause yeah, we flex up, together we flex up. Flipped it on his head and we stepped up. Ditch the negative and got dressed up, filled up the next cup until we got pepped up. Yeah, we flex up, flex up.
Hey,
Yeah, together we flex up. Yeah, together we flex up. Yeah, together we flex up. Yeah.
Absolutely dope. Absolutely dope. You killed it. You killed it.
cheers, bud.
That's so good. That's so good. And yeah, I mean, it's just the skill, isn't it? And the experience, being able to just knock it out and just do it. It was
Yeah, it does come with age and being old, definitely.
age is just a number, like many people say. But that's your own production, isn't it?
The track, it's written by Inner Eiffel, actually.
Inner Eiffel, so sorry, yeah.
He produced the track. It's a chap from Cornwall.
Okay.
Andy, awesome producer. Is also Inner Eiffel is a band as well. And yeah, we just teamed up just through online collaboration. And it also features is it LMA on vocals, doing the backing vocals on that lovely female vocal you hear there.
Yeah.
And yeah, that one's out on Juno and Bandcamp, and it also has a remix package as well.
Go grab it, definitely. That's brilliant. Right, we've got a couple more things to talk about. One of the things that obviously you haven't got records, and you're not the first. We had some other guests who haven't had records as well. But one of the first shows that we had when we had Double P and Mr. Musto, Mark Lancaster asked a question in the chat, and he said, what 345s lift your spirits? And it's something that we've done every show since, and there's a 45-day mix opportunity coming up pretty soon as a result of that question as well. But so I still ask my guests to choose 3 tracks or 345s, but in your case 3 tracks. So you've sort of sent them to me before, but let's go through each one and then sort of say first of all what it is and why it means so much to you and why it lifts your spirits. So what would you go for your first one?
Well, the first one will be a classic Kiwi track that if you know them, every time the song comes on, the first opening bass line, you're like, oh yeah, I know this. I'm going to be skanking in a minute. I'm going to be nodding my shoulders. I'm going to be bopping. And it just reminds me of like sunny summer days at the beach with my mates. And it is Roadie by Fat Freddy's Drop.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, every time it comes on, and it's like this, the original it's like 7.5 minutes. So it's like a proper journey, and you've got P Diggs on there as well, and you've got Sheila Rock, who's an amazing New Zealand rapper, and as only Fat Freddy's can do, they just take you on such a journey
Yeah.
from start to finish of a tune. It's just this massive journey.
An
And
amazing
I've
band.
been lying by myself in a river or by a river listening to this. I've been in 10,000 strong crowd jumping around to this. It's weird, like jumping around with 10,000 people to dub.
Yeah.
Quite hard to do. It's like everyone's like apologizing to each other for like bumping into them. Oh, sorry, bro. Sorry, bro. Sorry, bro.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's just feel good music. Really, really warms my soul. It takes me home. It takes me back to just I get sent straight back to New Zealand with that track.
That's a great choice. So so that's your first one. Or what's your second one?
The second one is from an album that was on constant repeat through my kind of touring days in New Zealand. Whenever we drive up and down the country, this album was on repeat all the time. But this song resonated with me the most, I think, off of that album because of its focus on not material things, but the simple things. And that is a track called Simple Things by A Skill's Crafty Cuts and The Real Elements. All I need in this crazy world is me and a peace of mind. I'm trying to find the happiness that exists in things we overlook, like a song with deep lyrics and a catchy hook. The cinema is cool, but I'd rather read a book. The simple thing like a cordless mic to clutch, or some banging instrumentals I can eat for lunch to make the crowd get the hell up like Pharaoh Munch. I'm like, that's that's a great opening, opening bar, sick. But yeah, and that is just, the funk in that tune as well, the guitar lick, the bass line, the production, and it's like I heard some hip hop, from I know it's a US rapper on it, but I hadn't heard that funky hip hop come out of the UK really a lot in those earlier days.
Yeah.
Until I heard A Skills and Crafty Cuts, and this Trick of Technology album was off charts.
Yeah.
And so that really actually, even though there's not many hip hop tunes, I was like, there is the funky hip hop in the UK, because I know there was some quite dark hip hop, but that funk was like, I was like, oh, I like that. That really resonated with me.
Yeah, definitely. No, another good choice. So, number 3, where'd you go from there?
Yeah, and so those that know me know that sort of funky breakbeat, and that is also my other love, apart from hip hop and funk. Breakbeat is where I find myself naturally sort of gravitating towards. And yeah, another amazing album that came out sort of mid breaks era that I loved every song on it, but the positive message behind this one is unsurpassed, and Darrison is the greatest vocalist in this, and the vibes are upbeat, funky, uplifty, jazzy, bracy, but not too heavy. And it's Love Your Life by Ed Solo, School of Thought, and Darrison.
Yeah. Great choice. That's three great tracks. Brilliant.
And they definitely pick me up and out of the mood. Yeah.
And that's what it's all about, isn't it? It's just something that you can put on and escape whatever's going on for 5 minutes, 7 minutes, whatever, how long it is. Just put a tune on and just sort of forget about the world for a few minutes and get lost in the music. So definitely. Right, we're almost at the end. We've got one more section. It's something that I've called Confectionery Corner. Again, it started from a question that Danny Bounce put in the very first show. And obviously this reads as it reads. He said, I quite like nice biscuits, Nice, but my wife calls them nice. Which one is it? So then we started talking about sweets and chocolates and things like that. And obviously, being slightly older people, we still like our treats. And we were talking about how we had DJ D on last week, and she was talking about some Australian confectionery, but it turns out that a lot of it is actually from New Zealand, made by Whittaker's. And then obviously, I asked you if you had anything from New Zealand, and you said you did. So what have you got?
I have Whittaker's. I have a bar. It's actually based on my hometown. Actually, it's a bar of New Zealand artisan collection Whittaker's, and it is Nelson pear and Manuka honey in milk chocolate. And Whitakers, if you know, are like just like the kings of New Zealand chocolate, and they have this one. There's another one which is nearly gone, which is Hawke's Bay Black Doris Plum and roasted almonds.
I mean,
And there's another
wow.
one which is like we've eaten it all because it was first to go. It was like a flat white and walnut chocolate, just unbelievable, man.
So you mentioned Nelson pear. So is Nelson renowned for its sort of pears? Do they grow quite a lot of pears there?
For its apples and pears, yeah, apples and
okay.
pears, and also its hops. It makes really great hops for beer.
I was gonna say, that sounds good.
Actually, Max, we get Max over here, Max beer, and we also have obviously Old Moot cider.
Oh yeah.
From Nelson as well.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, I didn't know
the
that was from New Zealand. Yeah.
Nelson.
Cool. Wow.
So, yes.
That's great. And it's always nice to hear about different chocolates and different things. It's been great. Just give me 2 seconds. I'm just going to see who's live. I think originally we thought, I don't know if you're still planning to jump on raid, or should we just go and find someone's raid? I think B-side's still going.
If we find someone, that'd be great, because I'm absolutely knackered.
No worries at all. B-side's still going. So let me just set the raid for him, and then we'll sort of say goodbye. But yeah, hold on a sec.
Yeah, no worries. But thanks for having me, bro.
No, thank you. It's always a pleasure. But while I'm doing that, do you want to tell people? Obviously, we've got Shindig coming up this weekend. Yep. Do you want to tell them about any other festivals and events that they can catch you at?
My next gig is after Shindig. It's at a frisbee festival in Amsterdam. The Bang and Mash boys are taking me over.
Oh yeah, Bang and Mash. Big shout out. Jamie's been on the show before, so yeah, big shout out to both of them.
Yeah, so I'm going over there for a frisbee festival, and then after that is Leopalooza in Cornwall.
Oh yeah, we played at that
in Devon.
Yeah,
and there's a few nights as well underway. There's some more festivals. I just can't say too much yet.
Fair enough.
There's definitely a few things going on. Just if you haven't followed me already, follow me on Twitch and also on my socials. If you find me, just spell that name that's down there into there.
Yeah.
And and
Twitch.tv, there you go, /Kurnel _MC for that.
There you go.
And then find you on all the socials.
Yes, Mary, see you on Thursday.
Yeah, sounds like you've got a very busy summer, which is good, and back to normal. If I dare I say it.
Definitely, just going to enjoy each one as it comes, and I think that's what everyone is doing, is really not taking any of it for granted anymore, and just really living for them. Yeah.
It's been amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you again for your openness, your honesty, the positive message, and what you're doing with that song in New Zealand is amazing. And big up your kids as well. The future is bright. Lots of cool stuff coming there. Take it easy. Thank you everyone for watching. I'm back tomorrow night on All Back to Mine, where we've got Don Champ Sound, who's my guest. So that's going to be an interesting show. We're probably playing some 45s at 33, so that should be interesting. And then next week I've got Cut Class again. We've got some other shows between now and then. But anyway, take it easy and let's go see B-side.
Thanks, guys.